Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Biome podcast, a space for nurturing the ecosystem of business, body, and living. What would it be like if you gave your body a leadership role in your business and chose greater happiness every day? These are the conditions that create a healthy biome and a thriving business. I'm your host, Heather Nichols, and I'm so happy you're here. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Biome podcast. I am here with you today from the beautiful shore of Lake Washington in Seattle. And I just wanted to record out here in nature. We've got some seaplanes going by every once in a while that make some noise. My camera seems to be blurry today. I don't have my external camera with me. And somehow that's okay. I am a big fan of not pretending that I'm perfect. I see so much marketing out there and so many people, putting out things into the world where they're like, I'm perfect, and it's kind of this strange invitation to like be perfect like them, but you know that you can never be that perfect. And I see so much more of it every day. And it's like, what if we just really didn't have to do that? What if we really didn't have to be perfect? And that's actually not even possible and not even something that we necessarily want to strive for. When we try to be perfect, we eliminate so many possibilities. It's not even funny. And yeah, it's not funny. Everything should be funny though, too, at the same time. But perfection is boring. And it actually totally steals our creative juice and our creative vigor and really interferes with a lot of choices that we can be making that would actually create something really cool and really different. You got to be willing to fail and fuck up royally in order to truly create with the freedom that's available to us when it comes to creation. And that's kind of one of the things I wanted to talk about today. I actually wanted to tell a bit of a story that to me is how the entrepreneurial biome began to take root in my own world. How I started to really see how everything contributes to everything. And this goes back quite a long time. It goes back to around, let's see, 2000, maybe 2013 or so, where I was a single mom. I had my children, I think, were 3 and 5. No, 5 and 7, something like that. They were 5 and 7 at that point. And I was really struggling. I was really struggling as a mom. I had very intense, very behaviorally challenged, let's say, boys, 2 boys. And it was kind of all I could do to deal with them, manage them. They really, it was like when they were with me, I just kind of went into survival mode every time. And then they would go to their dad, and then I could chill out a little bit, and then they'd come back to me, and then it was survival mode again. And I was just starting to kind of, recreate my business. I had a business before I got divorced, which was when they were 1 and 3. So it had been about 4 years. I was starting to really step into something different with a business again. And I was just stressed in every way. And the thing that was going on that was the most intense for me, in addition to them, was that I had very, very chronic, very severe lower back pain. And I didn't, I was a yoga teacher. I was a dance teacher. I was very fit. I was very active, flexible, agile, all those things. And it was very strange to me that I had debilitating back pain. There were some mornings where I woke up and I literally couldn't put my shoes on. I couldn't reach my feet. It took me a long time to get out of bed. And, I would have to get these kids off to wherever they were going, school or, preschool or whatever. I don't remember where they were with, I think, preschool and elementary at that point. But, it's very intense. And I had just taken the Access Consciousness Foundation class, which is a class that just for me, it's a game changer every time. I've taken it many, many times. I've facilitated it many more times since then. But this was my first time taking it, and it was the beginning of a new era of my life for me. It was like there was pre-foundation and there was post-foundation, and they were two completely different lives. I was two completely different people, And after that, I was like, okay, this back pain, like I started to see possibility again. I started to see that there was really a possibility for me to change the back pain. Whereas before, I just kind of didn't really know. I mean, I had a lot of tools before. I've been working with bodies my whole life, basically. Had a lot of tools, but nothing that I had was working. And Gary Douglas, who's the founder of Access Consciousness, was coming to Colorado, where I live. This was I took foundation I think it was in August of maybe it was 2012. Gary was coming to Colorado in January of 2013. I don't know why I remember this, the dates. It's so weird. I don't remember most things, but I remember this. And my body literally was like, we're going to that class. We are going to that class. And it was an advanced body class. So that's a 3-day energetic bodywork class. You give and receive bodywork for 3 days. There's so much magic to it. And there's prerequisites for it. And there was 3 other classes that I needed to take. 2 3-day body classes and a what is now called the Choice for Possibilities class in Access Consciousness that were prerequisites for me to be able to take this class. And I didn't have the money. I didn't know how I was going to do this. Well, there were 2 3-day body classes were happening in Colorado, and there was another, the Choice for Possibilities was happening in Chicago. And I had learned, these tools in the foundation class. I had learned this whole concept of how choice created and how I could choose something before I knew how, before I had the money. Like I could actually just go, I'm doing this, show me the way, universe. And I had done it before in some ways, but now I had some new tools that really worked. And so I chose the class with Gary. I chose all of 4 of the classes, the 3 that I needed to get there. And I just was like, okay, I don't know how I'm going to do this, how I'm going to pay for it, but I know I need to be at this class with Gary. And I created it. I just did all kinds of things. I didn't just choose it and wait for the money to fall in my lap, but I really, I did, I started doing more classes and creating more revenue streams for myself, and all these different things started to show up, and I created it. And in the class with Gary, I asked about my back pain, and my children were in the room. They were playing with some other kids, And Gary's a very psychic man. He's very, very aware, and he's actually just such a massive contribution. And I asked about the back pain, and he said to me, truth. Anytime you put truth before you ask a question, the person can't lie. Truth. Do you hate being a mom? And I was like, oh my gosh, there's 100 people in the room. My kids are in the room. The answer to that question is yes. And I have to answer it truthfully. Like, even with my kids here, even with everybody else, I have to expose myself right now. And I said, yes. And he said, and basically we had this whole facilitation, but what it came down to was hire out. He basically was like, all the things that you hate about being a mom, you need to pay somebody else to do so that you can do what you want to do and do it how you want to do it. And nobody had ever invited me to that before. And I was very excited about it, actually. I was like, wow, And I started to see in that moment, and then from many conversations after that, that what I hated about being a mom, it wasn't my kids. I adored my kids, but I hated having to be a mom in the way that you're supposed to be a mom, like in the good mom way, having to cook and clean and drive and homework and all these things, all the school stuff. And it was like, I didn't want to do it. I hated doing it because it just felt like a lot of work to me. And there wasn't the enjoyment of being with my children and actually connecting with them. And as a single mom, any single parent knows, you like when it's I had times where they were with their dad, but it was like when it's you're on. It's all you. And when you have more than one child, even if it's just one, but if you have more than one, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of needs that need to be addressed, and yours always come last. And that's mostly what I hated, was putting my needs last. Seaplane. So take a little water break. So once I recognized that, I also didn't have the money to pay somebody to do this stuff. I, you know, I wasn't wealthy. I wasn't swimming in cash, uh, but I did have the wealth of choice. I knew what was possible and available with choice. And I was like, the same way that I created getting to this class, I'm going to start to play with this whole conversation of, hiring out, basically. And I also, in that class, there was one particular body process, an energetic body process that somebody ran on me after that conversation. And Gary said, have this process run. And she ran it on me. And literally the next morning, my body woke me up and went, take me for a run. And I was like, I hadn't run in a long time. And I'm like, wow. Okay. So I went for a run. It was amazing. I was pain free. The pain, the debilitating pain that was in my back, it never came back. It never came back after that day. Not even a trace of it. It was amazing. And it was a combination of me acknowledging what was true for me and also not hiding behind me, literally in my back, what I didn't want to admit, which was that I hated the way that I was being a mom. And, and choosing something different. And that choice, even though it hadn't actualized yet, like the choice to go, you know what, I have to do this my way. I have to parent my way. Which is, I want to spend time with my kids. I want to actually enjoy being with them. I want to play with them. I want to interact with them. I want to nurture them in the way that is true for me, and I need to be willing to be a bad mom. I need to be willing to pay somebody to do all the grunt work and not worry about it, not be judged by it, and just create that as my life. And that's what I did. But even just the choice to do that changed my whole future, changed my body instantaneously, and I was on a new track. And from there, very shortly after that, I actually taught a class where I offered this particular body process, and I filled the class up really quickly. I had to turn people away. I hired somebody with the money that I generated from that class, because like I said, I did not have extra, but with the money that I generated from that class, I was able to hire somebody. I was able to, pay them for the first little bit of time that they worked for me. And then what happened was I hired this amazing guy, and he helped me in my business. He helped me with the kids. He drove them around. He cooked for all of us. He, you know, got them ready for bed and homework and, whatever was going on. I mean, there's not a lot of homework in elementary school, but, just whatever needed to occur. He did all of that for me. And so that, and for them, and it didn't matter to them who was doing that. There's so many constructs in our world that this is how you're a good parent, is you tick off all these things that you have to do. Well, it's a to-do list. What if being a good parent is not a to-do list? It's a space of being and being present for and available to your kids to give them what they truly need and give yourself what you truly need. And that's what I started to do. And he supported me in that. And from there, I started to generate more money because I had the support and I had the help. I didn't have to spend my time doing things that I didn't want to do, that I hated doing. And I could be more present with my kids, and I could be more present with me. And I was choosing to honor me. And that allowed my body to change. It allowed my business to grow. It allowed my parenting reality to completely change. And I got a lot happier as a result, because I was out of excruciating pain. My money flows were shifting around. They were becoming greater. My business was growing. My kids were more relaxed. I was more relaxed. We were all happier. And when I look back on that time, I had been asking for my business to grow, but I needed to handle my body, and I needed to handle my parenting reality really kind of first, before the business could really grow and before the money flows could grow. And I didn't know that. I didn't know how it all went together. I didn't know that it all fit together. I didn't know that all of these things contributed to all of these things. That was a new conversation for me, that, if you're the biome, the whole picture of your life and living, and thrival in one area creates thrival in all areas. Diminishment and survival in one area creates diminishment and survival in all areas. And you don't know what needs to be addressed in the biome, to allow, maybe there's one area that you want to work on or you want to change. You don't know what needs to be addressed until you look at the big picture and the whole picture. And this is why, for me, the way that I work with people, I can't isolate. It's like, if you want to work on your business, that's great. I've got a million tools that really work, but we can't just isolate business. We've got to look at the whole picture. And this is what we call the business of your life and living. It is the business of your life, and all of it needs to be addressed. This is the biome. This is the ecosystem of business, body, and living. And that is the entrepreneurial biome. And so, I had to change parenting. That was the thing. My reality as a parent was the thing that was causing my back pain, and I couldn't move forward with my business and my money flows until I handled those things. And guess what got me to the awareness that I needed to have to address everything that I addressed? It was my body. It was my body saying, excuse me, something needs to change, something different needs to be occurring here, and it was yelling at me, every day. It was making it impossible for me to live my life. And oftentimes our bodies have to scream like that. They do use sensation to get our attention. And a lot of times, unfortunately, it's pain. And they have to, in order to get our attention, because we just won't listen otherwise. And, you can change that. You can start to listen to the subtleties the subtle sensations and, all these things going on before you get to full-blown debilitating, incapacitating pain or sickness or disease, whatever it may be. So we have to, we have to start listening, but way before we get there. And how do we do that? Well, we start to cultivate and develop a completely different relationship with our bodies, with sensation, with subtle energies. And there's a million tools that are definitely beyond the scope of this particular conversation, that, where we can start to do that. And that's also, there's a lot of previous podcasts you can listen to that share a lot of tools. And then there's classes and there's private sessions with me and private work. And I have some private intensives where I really love to dive in with people to the full picture, and that's really kind of one of my favorite things to do, is to work either in person. I do a 2-day private intensive where we just explore everything. It starts with a half-hour session online to look at the full picture of what you're asking for, what's going on in every area of your life, kind of assess. And then we take 2 days together in person where I can do hands-on work with your body, and I can do all kinds of, a lot of different things. We have conversations, it's recorded so you can listen later on. And, it's just, it's a whole deep dive into completely changing things for you. And then there's some follow-up as well. And then online, what I do is a 6-month individual. I have a 6-month business program called the Generative Business Pods, but I have a 6-month individual immersion, and it's called Tending the Biome. And Tending the Biome is really this, like, hey, let's take some areas that you're asking for big change, and let's look at everything in your life and see what needs to change in what areas of your life so that you can start to expand the whole biome, the whole ecosystem into something greater, and address, you might have, like, in a nature ecosystem, you may have, something going on, like maybe there's one mineral missing from the soil, but that the addition of that one mineral changes the whole ecosystem, but you can't know until you start to look from a holistic point of view and be asking different questions, and looking through the eyes of curiosity rather than the eyes of conclusion. If I had concluded at that time, my back, how would medicine have handled it? They would have given me surgery, and it did not require surgery, and I probably would have had surgery, and I wouldn't have had surgery because I don't do surgery, but I would have, somehow, it wouldn't have changed anything because my body's like, that's not what I needed, but we have to listen. We have to listen. We have to get present to the subtleties, the subtle energies, the sensations, the different aspects of our life and what's occurring there, and look not from a point of view of wrongness, but from the curiosity of, okay, so what's going on here? What is this? Can I change this? If so, how can I change this? What's required, and listening to the body, because our bodies have so much information about about physical reality and creation. And there's so much information in our bodies about all of that. And so, we have to be exploring from a different point of view with far less conclusion and decisions about what's going on, and way more curiosity and a sense of possibility. For someone to go from debilitating back pain to never again after one conversation and one energetic body work session, body process, that's miraculous. And then for that to change my parenting reality, my levels of happiness, my levels of stress, my levels of relaxation, the growth of my business and the growth of my money flows, that's even more miraculous. This is how it works. But we have to listen. We have to listen. So, big change, you may be asking for big change in some area of your life, in all areas of your life. Big change is one of my favorite playgrounds because I have so many tools that actually work. They're not just good ideas. They're not just conversations where you go away and you're like, I feel better for 2 days and then I feel like shit again. Um, we change things at a cellular, molecular, energetic level, not just in your body, but in your whole biome, your whole life, so that everything contributes to everything and everything becomes greater. And I love doing this with people. I love it, love it, love it. So if you are asking for big change and you would like to work with me and play with these incredible conversations, this incredible exploration, and these incredible tools, please reach out. You can email us at info@heathernichols.com. You can also go to my website and check out there's a session page where you can find the online private immersion. You can find in-person private intensives. I do them for half day, full day, 2 day. And then, there's other just session packages and things like that on there as well, and classes and all of the things. I just am so passionate about these tools because I've never found anything in my life that works like this, where you can have a different reality in a nanosecond based on choice and based on possibility and based on the exploration of like getting out of the wrongness and the judgment of what's going on into the curiosity, knowing that everything that's going on in our lives can lead us to greater. It can lead us to greater if we are willing to choose it, to have that reality, and also to be as different as you need to be in order to have that. For me, I couldn't have created any of this if I needed to be normal as a mom, if I needed to have standard operating procedures in my parenting practices, if I needed to prove that I was a good mom because I cooked, cleaned, never slept, you know, my body was like, no, that's not what I that's not what I'm here for, That's not what I'm here for, my body and me, the being. And I also acknowledge that my kids chose me not to be a stressed out mom, but to actually show them a different way of being, and to be with them, to nurture them from me, my body, and my being. And it had nothing to do with if I picked them up, drove them around, bathed them, cooked for them, cleaned up after them. None of that mattered. But you have to be willing to be different if that's not your priority. And I'm just using that as an example. There's lots of different ways we can look at this, and, relationships. And, I've created my relationship very differently based on what's true for me and my partner and what works for us. And we continue to evolve that every day. We did a podcast on that a few weeks ago. But, you have to be willing to be different, because otherwise you won't give yourself the latitude to make different choices and new choices. And if you want your life to be different, you have to choose differently, but really different. So different that it's different. It's not just differently. So I'm not being grammatically incorrect. I'm actually being energetically making a point, and that is one of the absolute, underpinnings and pillars and foundations of what it is that I do, and what's required of you to be able to have that kind of change and that kind of possibility in a world that wants us to be stressed, never relaxed, not at ease, not have access to our being and the joy of living and the joy of being alive in our bodies and all of that. Like, that's not valued, and it's not prioritized, and it's not even desired in the world, because we don't get to be like card-carrying members of society when we are willing to function from relaxation and ease. You're on the fringe, and it's wrong. And so many people in your life will judge you for it. But does that matter? I mean, if you're creating your choices based on your need to be approved of by other people, you're never going to be happy. You may as well never listen to another one of my podcasts again, because that's not where I'm going, and that's not where I'm inviting you to go either. We can create our lives based on other people's judgments and their desires and needs for us to be a certain way. And we can also create our lives based on what's true for us. And either way, we're going to be judged. You can't avoid being judged by other people. But would you like to be judged by other people and be truly happy and have ease and relaxation and peace and abundance and all of those things? Or, would you like to be, at the effect of other people's judgments still and never happy? Never have the creative possibility and be the creative powerhouse that you be. And sometimes stepping into these spaces and having these conversations with ourselves and exploring these areas of our lives is greatly facilitated by having somebody there to do it with you. Doing private sessions myself as seeking out other facilitators and people to work privately with me has been one of my greatest tools. Something that I have done a lot of in my lifetime, a lot. In addition to getting my hands on the Access Consciousness tools in other ways with classes and things. But it's been really one of my absolute, one of the things that I've done that has made the biggest difference in me being able to create something more dynamically, faster, and with more ease and joy than ever before. And I just, it's especially now we require each other, and I'm not saying that because I'm trying to sell anybody anything. I'm not trying to sell anybody anything. I am inviting you to a different possibility for whatever that looks like for you. I am available if that would be a contribution. But I'm saying that because we've seen in the past many years that there's a priority in the world to separate us, to keep us separate from each other. And it's, in some ways it's worked, and if you have not been willing to go there and allow that to work, then good for you. And you can always choose something different. But separation, isolation is causing so much stress, so much disease, so much illness, so much heartache, so much financial lack and diminishment of our lives and our bodies and our families and all of that. And I'm asking for something different. I'm choosing something different. I'm offering something different. And I'm inviting you to something different, whatever that may look like for you. So I wish you the best, exploring the biome that is you. And if I can be of any contribution to you, I am here. Please reach out, let me know, say hello, and I will see you next time for more. Bye for now. Thank you for joining me for the Entrepreneurial Biome podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe. For more resources, check out my website at heathernichols.com and my social media channels as well. Have a beautiful day, and remember that your business thrives when you do.